Shangri-La Frontier, S+ tier. Shangri-La is an anime that will definitely go down in the annals of anime history. I still can't believe that they managed to replicate Ready Player One in such an amazing fashion. As opposed to your usual truck-kun followed by a resurrection to another world, Shangri-La decided to play things differently and opt to a Sword Art Online scheme. However, unlike Sword Art, this wasn't filled with grim consequences of death and imprisonment. That being said, Shangri-La was right on the money with their execution. Their animation was fire, and their fight sequences felt like IP Man was given unearthly powers. Our main protagonist, Sunraku, proved to everyone why skills and technique are timeless. While power is a universal currency known and feared by many, if you're good at the basics, you can survive in any ecosystem. The way he dodges certain attacks left me breathless, to say the least, almost like he was given the Sharingan and Observation Haki. The reason I gave Shangri-La an S+ is purely for its choreography. The creativity of the attacks and sequence is something a lot of animes need to study. It wasn't a basic 2D face-off where they try to overpower one another. You can tell they put in a lot of hard work into polishing every detail of this anime. And the fact that they whipped out 20+ episodes of this awesomeness is a feat in of its own. In addition to their wild fight scenes, the characters were quite profound, if I might say. They had depth to them, as opposed to stand-in characters who are there to fill the space. The adorable Emul alone should be sufficient to pique your interest. I mean, look at her. How does one even go about crafting something cute as this? Everything about this show is sublime, from the game mechanics to the end-level game bosses. Shangri-La took what Sword Art offered and elevated the stakes. I only hope to see more bangers like this in the upcoming years. Needless to say, Shangri-La earns our top spot comfortably. Ninja Kamui, S tier. Oh boy, we really need to talk about Ninja Kamui. A list of hottest 2024 shows can't be complete without discussing this anime first. I'm not quite sure what the producers and animators had in mind when making this, but they should not have been allowed to cook this hard. Honestly, if you thought Shangri-La had fight scenes, wait till you see these ninjas throwing hands. You know what? I'm convinced the guys who made Kakashi vs. Obito and Naruto vs. Momoshiki were in charge of making Ninja Kamui, because that is the level of caliber we are talking about here. Characters who actually idolize and follow the ninja code rebelled against the very system they believed in, leading them to become targets of the institution they swore to protect and serve. This might seem like your typical revenge plot, but don't be fooled. We saw how wicked John Wick was, and now we are being treated to another badass character. I have nothing but respect for my guy Higan. His fighting style reminds me of Samurai Champloo, quick and efficient. He wastes no moves and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. The major difference in this anime from other ninjas is the timeline it took place in. Normally, we are used to traditional weapons and kunais. However, since this takes place in the modern era of technology, ninjas have received a significant boost in their overall stats. Ninja Kamui is sort of like a combination of magic in the form of secret arts, pristine technique in the form of martial arts, and deadly weapons in the form of modern technology. The overall design is great, and the pacing, even though it seemed a bit rushed, is fairly placed. So yeah, an S is well deserved for this amazing masterpiece. Classroom of the Elite, A tier. Let's us move away from the action-packed animes and look into one of the most exciting drama releases of 2024. We all know how Ayano Koji loves to rile things up and disrupt the school's dynamic whenever he can. However, if you think Season 1 and Season 2 Ayano Koji was vicious, wait till you see his Season 3 upgrade. His off-putting demeanor and resting dogface attitude is quite intimidating, and to add insult to injury, his leashes were dropped, thereby creating a whole different monster. I can't even imagine what my guy is capable of if he went all out. Luckily, Season 3 is hinting at the potential outcome of his rampage. None of the students hold a candle to him, and the ones who could, Class A, are trying their best to bring forth his downfall. Drama doesn't get any better than this. In fact, I'd add the thriller genre based on the spooky vibes emanating from them. Classroom of the Elite has always stood out due to their absurd challenges, which is borderline insanity for a prestigious educational institution. This time around, their challenges have gotten more technical. Even so, the level of difficulty and absurdity keeps on increasing by the day, almost as if the school has a personal agenda or bone to pick with the students. The twists and turns of this show have successfully earned it a solid A on our list. If you're looking to take a breather from action or slice-of-life shows like Apothecary Diaries, then Classroom of the Elite offers an intense experience for ye veteran weebs. Mashal, S tier. Season 2 of Mashley showed us all why MASH has the potential to reach Saitama at this pace. If you're like me and you loved Season 1, I can guarantee you that Season 2 won't disappoint. In fact, they increased the stakes by introducing a tournament arc to determine whether MASH was fit to continue enrolling in the school, and let me say this, my guy did not hold back or pull any punches. Despite not being able to use magic, he kept on passing every blockade and challenge they threw at him. Initially, everyone had their doubts, and even criticized the director for electing him. The special kids on the block tried to object his existence and demanded his arrest. A mysterious evil group was after him for some reason. I mean, they added some interesting plot points to move the story forward. I'm kinda enjoying the direction they took with this one. I'm also in love with their goofy animation style they keep on adding here and there. It gave the scenes some comedic relief. That's one aspect that Mashal differs from the rest of its competitors. Aside of that, the fights were a lot similar with frieren, since the majority were skilled mages with a diverse set of abilities. I promise not to spoil much, but keep an eye out for Wahlberg. The director goes insane on the beat. You wouldn't want to miss a second of Mashal, cause this anime has a lot of potential. Based off the characters it introduced, the fight scenes and power output it's releasing, and killer intro. Oh man, is this the best intro of the year or what? Raise your hands if you had it as your ringtone. But seriously, MASH completely deserves an S on our list. I would have given it an S+ if it had a little bit more to it. Ishura, A tier. Now this anime caught me completely off guard. Seeing the first episode start off casually, I went in expecting an ordinary Classroom of the Elite type of drama. However, the sudden shift in atmosphere reminded me of Dead Man Wonderland. Just when I thought I had things figured out, they brought in killer robots to throw me off my game. At this point, I was sure the show was taking an Akudama Drive or Neon Genesis approach, but lo and behold, they had to introduce a badass samurai to confuse my already scrambled brain. So now I'm left thinking, magic, robots and swords. What does this remind me of? Before I can even think of an answer, the show did a complete 180 and took a drifter's path by introducing the most deadliest characters ever known to man. And each introduction was thorough and detailed, letting you know that these aren't your everyday warriors, but unique specimen within this new reality. Undefeated enemies looking to taste defeat. Wait a minute, what does that remind you of? Yeah, Baki Season 3. That's when I realized this show was going to be dope. As you would have it, they managed to pull it off. They introduced new moves and abilities we only dreamt of before. And the fight sequence was lavishly clean. The story had a lot going on, with a tense political climate and an ongoing rebellion. It added spice to the already burning pot. You're probably wondering why I didn't place Ishura at the S tier, and that's because they cut things too short. I did it out of spite. In actual reality, it does deserve the S tier, but sometimes you have to act petty when you don't get what you want. And if the production team of Ishura is listening to this, please let them know to pump out more amazing content. Only then will we grant them the S or S+. 7 Deadly Sins, S tier. Are there any Meliodas fans in here? Well, the new release of 7 Deadly Sins, Knights of the Apocalypse, can be seen by newcomers, even if you haven't seen the previous 5 seasons. However, it would behoove you to binge them, to get acquainted with the story more. That being said, the Deadly Sins officially got its groove back. A lot of the community felt like it fell through after Season 3. However, I personally enjoyed every minute of it. The new release, on the other hand, was quite unique in both animation and story. At first, it almost felt like a Boruto spin-off, with the older generation being replaced by the younglings. Even so, these little munchkins knew how to hold their own in a battle. With new power systems as well as inherited upgrades, The Night of the Apocalypse proved to everyone why the new generation should be revered and feared. With subtle guest appearances of previous legends, we saw glimpses of Gauthur here and there, Merlin looking fine as always, Elizabeth in a whole new light, and Meliodas still the same as always. Still not sure where King and Diane went. Regardless, Knights of the Apocalypse might have introduced us to the villain of the year. With 20+ episodes, you can't help but binge the whole show in one sitting. Rating this an S on the list was a no-brainer, to be honest. Can't wait to see where they go with this story and what they have in store for us. Metallic Rouge, A tier. 2024 has certainly been action-heavy, but hey, I don't see anyone complaining. Metallic Rouge has been an excellent addition to the already bolstered squad of battle fanatics. In a futuristic world where aliens had invaded and situated with humans, human technology seems to have gotten the upper hand over our extraterrestrial friends. Unlike the previous animes, Metallic Rouge has a hint of mystery and thriller to it, with the two felines searching for clues and defeating corrupt officials to bring back the peace and stability stolen from their towns. However, I feel like anime studios have a sort of agenda. It can't be a coincidence that Ninja Kamui and Metallic Rouge integrated fighting mechas into their anime at the same time. On top of Ishura's robots, I feel like they have an ulterior motive for this. Regardless, Metallic Rouge did a great job with their CGI and choreography. The story structure might seem confusing, so you'd have to really focus to understand the details. Other than that, the rest is easy pickings. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. From what I've seen so far, I believe Metallic Rouge deserves a solid A on our list. The Unwanted Undead, B tier. Now this is a weird reverse isekai. I mean, the MC, Rent, is neither teleported away or brought back whole. Rather, he turns into an undead monster who gradually evolves as he kills monsters. What do we even call this genre? Regardless, this was a fun piece of exposition which could be considered as your casual binge. There's nothing special about it per se. You have your usual Danmachi dungeon sequence, an undead who'd put Overlord to shame in terms of his weakness, and ordinary adventurers looking to make a quick buck. As I said, nothing special, but it's decent enough to be considered as your run-in-the-mill show. I wouldn't personally give it any priority, but if you have some spare time and energy and want to see what 2024 productions have been up to, you could give it a chance. I gave it a B out of leniency, but I'd understand if you placed this on C tier, to be honest. Not much fan service to make up for the mediocrity, which is disappointing. Delicious in Dungeon, A tier. Now this was a unique take. Don't let the dungeon aspect deter you though. This show reminds me a lot of Food Wars. However, I'm not sure if there are any connoisseurs looking to feast on monsters, but who knows, perhaps these wild beasts could taste good if cooked right. You'd have to be a messed up hedonist to try and seek delight from life-threatening beasts though. Even so, that's exactly what this show offers and why I'm loving every bit of it. Do you consider the explanations in Food Wars a bit tedious or quite invigorating? Because that will determine whether you like this show or not. It's amusing when someone explains what they are cooking as they are pre-forming the act. Almost feels like a sneak peek or a gate-kept information coming to light. Delicious in Dungeon has some decent fights, tricky traps, and unusual magic. But the main star of the show is their cooking highlights. That for me is reason to place this show in the A spot, for creativity and outstanding execution. One Piece, S+ tier. We can't truly have a complete show without the big dog, can we? Spoilers ahead if you aren't caught up to Egghead Island. One Piece carried 2023 with the hardest fights to ever grace our screen. From Zoro versus King, to Law and King versus Big Mom, and the grand finale of Luffy and Kaido. Now they plan to carry the torch themselves and enlighten 2024 with a new animation style filled with vibrancy and life. Egghead Island is already promising to be one of, if not the best arc of all time. No hate to Marineford, that arc will always remain OG, no matter what happens. But Egghead Island was built different, and we haven't even gotten to the climax of the manga yet. I highly suggest you stay updated, cause One Piece is out here breaking records like they were soft twigs. An S+ with a cherry on top, because the big three have officially announced their leader. That's all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed our recommendations and suggestions. Let us know in the comments if we missed any of your favorite shows, or if you disagree without rating. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Till next time, stay true to your beliefs.